I made a mistake twice. This summer my swimming costume is coming a bit later because I've had problems with the design. I had seen some swimming costumes with pleats on the side, which I thought it was quite nice, but then when I made it, it didn't turn out as I wanted it to be. It all started quite well. I traced my swimming costume block of measurements and it turned out great, but then...
With my blocks made, I cut the lining and sew it right sides together. And when I cut the other material, I elongated one side to make the pleats, sew it right sides together and put it one inside the other and sew it together.
First I'm going to trace the pattern because last year's swimming costume is not like a complete costume because it goes tight on the neck. And for that I'm going to use my block of measurements. I have it traced with the darts included, and I have a mark where the measurement of the waist will be without the darts. So I'm going to use that and the bottom of the knickers bit. But you can do this with a t-shirt, you know, is tight enough, or even with a swimming costume from other years. So let's trace that. And to trace the neckline and the back, I'm going to use the French curves, but if you don't have one of these, you can even use a plate and try to make marks so your curve looks nice and smooth. And to trace the back, I'm going to do it with the front, but taking into account that the bottom of the knickers are not the same as the front. So I'm going to put the swimming costume on top again so I can trace that bit. And with my patterns cut, I'm going to cut the lining and the fabric. And because I want to make a gathering on the left side of the swimming costume, I'm going to elongate the left side so I can pleat it later. But only on the material, not on the lining. And this is exactly when I made the mistake with this one, when I wanted to trace the pattern from the block. And what I did is that I elongated one side of the pattern, which is ridiculous because you only get a few pleats, or if you get a lot, you are misshaping the rest of the neckline, so it doesn't make sense. And with my panels cut, the front one has a longer side on the left because it's where I'm going to pleat it a little bit, and I'm going to sew it with a zigzag stitch, not too long, an intermediate size, and a tension 3. And I'm going to be sewing with a needle 110/18. I don't know why, I still have problems sewing this type of materials, and with the stretch needle I can't. It skips stitches, I don't know why. If you have any idea, let me know, because it's a nightmare. So I still get nervous when I'm sewing something like this. So I'm going to sew right sides together. The gathering doesn't look as gathered as I was hoping for. That wasn't my plan. So I am in between. it looks like I either made some pleats or I either didn't and the machine made them for me, like it got stuck or something. So anyways, for next time I'm planning to make a bikini as well, so I'll take this into account to make it more to make more of it. And now I'm going to put one side, the lining, inside the swimming costume so I can sew everything together and then add the elastic. Good thing about sewing for yourself, you can try it on. Bad thing, you have to try it on. It's just annoying sometimes. And I was thinking, this lycra looks quite, not stiff, but I mean it has, it's strong. So I was thinking if I really need to add the elastic all around the edges, I'm going to, because I'm not sure and I'm not particularly good at sewing lycra. So, but I was thinking that maybe it's not necessary. If you know, let me know that in the comments, please. And to add the elastic band around the edges, what I'm going to do is really slowly make a double hem and add the elastic on the second time I fold, so I can still pull and it's hidden and sewn in the seam. The good thing about this material is that when you have a few layers, it's easier to sew and it doesn't move or anything. The bad thing is that if you want to baste or put pins in, at least in my case, on this one, you end up pulling threads of material and it gets marked really easily. So I'm going to do it like that. What really annoyed me is that it was one of those things that you don't realize until you finish everything. But well, we learn from mistakes, and this, even though I had my blog, I should have made a pattern besides, because I needed to create a pattern, cut the pleats, open it, so I can then pleat the material in there. But anyways, I don't know.
I made a pattern cutting the original one to have more pleats in the fabric, and then I sewed right sides together, and I did the same with the lining, but leaving the bottom opening so I could put it inside the other one and have a seamless neckline so I could then finish the armholes and legs.
And this paper pattern is the one I'm going to cut to create the pleat. So on the right side I'm going to choose a point, to mark a point, and I'm going to make diagonal lines towards the left side so I can then cut and create this open shape in which all the material will be gathered to create the pleats. So this will be my swimming costume that once it's pleated, it will look nice in theory. And I have this really nice fuchsia material. I think it's going to look great. And the same lining I use with my bikini and the swimming costume that didn't turn out great. And also I have my machine threaded in polyester in fuchsia, and of course a zigzag stitch. And of course I have my plastic foot, and the needle I'm going to be using it's one 110-18 because it works with the bikini. I've seen that people do it with the overlocker, but I'm not brave enough yet. So let me know then in the comments if you've done it with the overlocker, sewn a swimming costume with it, to see if for next year I get a bit braver. And of course, each with their own, I'm going to sew the lining together and the swimming costume together. Being careful with the swimming costume to put the pleats inside so it has the same measurement, the same length as the back of the swimming costume. I have the two things sewn, and to put them together I'm going to put the lining outside the swimming costume so I can sew all the neckline and then push it inside. Of course, adding a bit more elastic, and the swimming costume is on the right side and the lining is on the wrong side. It's right sides together to the swimming costume, so when I put it in, the good side is the one you see inside. And the lining I'm going to leave open on the bottom because I want to try to leave at least the neckline without a seam, without any seams. So let's see how I get along with that. And now the rest of the armholes and the legs I'm going to do as I did the bikini, folding twice and added the elastic in. And of course, before sewing the legs together, we have to make sure to sew the bottom bit of the lining, which is open. So just sew it right sides together and go on the inside again, and that's it. Stop a second, did you see that? Have another look. The lining.
The lining comes right out.
And the thing is that didn't happen with the first one, but with the second one. So you will think it must be the thing I did different, which is the hidden neckline. So I thought it was that, but then having a look, I realized that it was only on the back. So I thought it must be that the lining is a bit bigger, and it is. Because when I hold it from the side seam, you can see how much bigger the lining is. And in order to fix the pink swimming costume, I will have to take it to pieces because it was one of the first, well, it was the first seam. So instead of doing that, because I don't really fancy doing that, I'm going to zigzag stitch the back, which is the bit that is where the lining is coming out from. So let's see if with that I can sort of mend it. So I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to cut the lining a bit shorter so this doesn't happen. To make the pleats stand out, you need a plain fabric, because in my opinion, if you have a pattern piece of material, you won't see them as much. So I have the same material of the fuchsia in a Prusia, in a lovely blue. So I think it's going to look great. The only difference is going to be the lining that I'm going to cut a bit smaller. I'm still afraid of sewing this kind of materials because I can't work out the stretch needles with my machine. It doesn't work with them, it doesn't sew with them, I don't know why. So in the end I end up sewing with one 110-18. So I don't know why, but that one works. So once it works, it sews fine and you end up with nice quality swimming costume for only like a third of the price or even less. So I'm quite pleased with them. And I have now 3 new swimming costumes I can wear. I'm really pleased with how I mended the backline on this one. I just did a zigzag stitch on top of it, trying to put in all the lining that was spare so it doesn't come out, because the other solution was cutting it to pieces and trying to fix it from the beginning, which was not a solution. So I'm quite pleased, and with this one I'm really pleased with how it worked, with the lining being a bit smaller, and the rest I did the same. So I'm quite happy with it. Let me know down in the comments what you thought, what problems you have with lycras, and don't forget to subscribe and give it a like as well. I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel a lot, and that way if you're subscribed you don't miss anything, because I upload a video once a week. And I leave you here the bikini I did a few weeks ago and a whole list of all the summery stuff you can have a look at. Bye!
¿Te sale mucho?
Te sale.